Those of you who follow me on Substack or are on my mailing list know that this month of February 2026 is the focus for me is joy. And I made that decision at the beginning of the month. It was just coming through loud and clear. And I know that part of that was, as I've shared in my previous video, almost as an act of defiance that there's so much heaviness, sadness, heartbreak, grief, dysfunction going on in the world right now that those of us who have access to a bit of joy almost have a duty, I think, to focus on the joy. And whenever you're watching this, whether it's in February 2026 or not, if you're going through a transition as we are collectively at the moment, collectively we are going through a big transition. But if you're going through a personal transition, whatever that change is in your life, it's really important to focus on the joy and to find the joy in the transition. I've been supporting clients to move through change and to create positive and meaningful change in their life for over 20 years now. And I've been through a huge amount of change and transition in my own life. And it can be tough. Change and transition can be tough. It can take it out of us. It can drain our energy. It can be uncertain. It can be, one of my favorite words is discombobulating. One of my clients recently said that she felt as if she was moving from one bank of the river to the other side of the river. And she knew this bank. She'd lived in this bank for a long time. It felt very stable, very familiar to her. And she was, as we were talking, she said, I was just feeling so wobbly. It was almost like she was walking across some rocks, some unsteady rocks through this river, through the current of the river to get to the other side. The other side being where she wanted to get to, but she had to go through this unsteady, shaky, wobbly, discombobulating river. And so as we're going through that period of discombobulation, of moving from the familiar to the unfamiliar but wanted, we really need to focus on the joy of the journey. Uh, and to focus just in on the simple little joys that we can find along the way. It's almost a little bit like the image that's coming into my mind as I'm sharing this is about Hansel and Gretel, the breadcrumbs through the forest. If we can follow the joy, follow the breadcrumbs of joy through our life, then wherever we're trying to get to, well, it doesn't really matter where we're trying to get to because in the moment there is joy. And the joy can be the simplest of simple things. The weather here in the Dordogne has been wild for the last few weeks. The whole Dordogne is flooded. There's roads closed, trees down. It's just been stormy and wild, as I know it is in a lot of other parts of the world right now. But on the brief moments when the wind drops and the rain stops, just to walk outside and hear the birds coming back as springtime is approaching now, or to see the daffodils in the garden coming up through now. Simple joys for me this morning. Having a warm shower just felt, yeah, there was a joy in it. The simple joy of having fresh running water and being able to have a drink of water, making myself a mug of tea from some herbs that I gathered from the garden last year. These are all simple joys and not to be underestimated. If you're in a relationship, the joy of being able to hold your partner's hand, having a snuggle together, the joy of good food, a good meal. I just had so much joy a few minutes before I started recording this because one of my stepsons sent through a video recording of his little daughter, Lily, who's 1 today. And the video was of her just giggling in absolute joy. She was playing with one of her birthday presents today, and it just melted my heart. So these little moments of joy, these breadcrumbs of joy, will lead us along the way. And if the transition is, if you're choosing the transition and you're consciously moving from one riverbank to another riverbank, so for example, you're choosing to leave a career and move into something else, some other line of work, following your joy, or as Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss, are really identifying what does bring me joy, what brings me alive, what makes my heart soar, and finding a way to do that, or to encapsulate that in what you're doing and be of service to others while following that joy, is, there's nothing like it. I can tell you, from having done this, I get so much joy from seeing helping a client through a difficult time, or just seeing them having a breakthrough, seeing them have one of those sort of aha moments, a moment of liberation and transformation. It again just brings me joy. That's part of the reason I do it. It's not a selfless act. But so yeah, that's just a little download today, just to encourage you, regardless of what is going on in the world, regardless of what's going on in your own life, regardless of how difficult things may be, try and find the joy, try and find those moments of joy. Beautiful Kate Bush song is just coming into my mind. It's called Moments of Pleasure. If you get a chance to check it out, it's one of my favorite songs. And then also another song that's just coming into my mind just before I finish up is by Foy Vance, and it's called The Joy of Nothing. So sometimes there is just a simple joy in nothing at all, doing nothing, just being. Go well, friends.